Well, welcome everyone to the Genius Way to Respond to Reviews. Before I introduce today's speakers, just a couple of housekeeping items. Throughout the webinar, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen to submit any questions. We'll try to answer as many of those questions as we have time for. Also, this webinar will be recorded and we will share it afterwards. We will now introduce our speakers. Today we have a very special guest with us today from First Watch Restaurants, Eva Pinches. Eva is the Senior Director of IT and Customer Experience. We also have James Morse joining her. He is the VP of Product Marketing at SOCi. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen because slides are boring and turn it over to James.
Hey, thanks. We're going to make this pretty casual today. We would just want to have a very much an informative conversation. I think it's important just to kind of set the stage for um, the the type of platform experience we're going to talk about. So I think we're all inundated with the topic of agents now, especially this year. Over the last couple of years, there's obviously generative AI, and that's really evolved into agents. And so from a SOCi perspective, we thought agents was a great opportunity for us because one of the common problems for local marketing is just the ability to scale that out and do it, especially in the digital landscape. So when you think about SOCi, really the three types of pillars we anchor to are search, social, and reputation. And whether you're centralized and you manage that at headquarters or you allow your local locations to manage those things themselves, it still takes a lot of energy and a lot of people to do those things. So we thought that this area of digital and local marketing was ripe for opportunity of agents. So today we're going to talk about SOCi's Genius Reputation Agent. We're going to talk to Eva about really how they've implemented that at First Watch and that experience, because a lot of the questions that we get from existing clients, prospects, whoever it is like, hey, how does the agent work? What does the agent mean? And like, what does that process look like? So Eva, I'll just kind of tee up some questions and let's just kind of talk through those and see where this takes us. Sound good?
Absolutely. Go for it, James. Thank
Okay.
you.
Let's start from day one. Really, what surprised you most about getting started with Genius Reputation Agents? Was there hesitation? Was there excitement? Just tell us about that.
Sure. So I think mixed of both would be probably the answer. But I think what surprised me and the team the most is probably how quickly it started to deliver the value for us, right? So we were thinking this will be a kind of a long-winded process. We all been there where we were launching new tools. It took months to get it ready, and it really was not the same experience with the SOCi Genius and Reputation Agent. Um, and I think that it felt really more like, to be honest, like launching a smarter way to work instead of launching a new tool. So that was super cool. But that's probably the most how quickly they will deliver the value and just that it truly didn't feel like launching a tool.
I love that. I know that you all invested up front in that setup process. I oftentimes equate this to if you're to hire a new employee, there's a training experience that you have to go through. They don't walk in day one knowing much. Hopefully they know a little bit, right? You've hired them for a reason, but um I like to think of Genius Agents as the same type of approach where you're trying to onboard a new employee or employees. If you had to explain the setup in that onboarding process to another brand in one or two sentences, like how would you describe that?
Yeah. So I always say pay it forward. Just align with your marketing, with your PR, with your brand. What is it that you want to teach the agent? Because to your point, it's kind of like onboarding a new employee, right? In a way, just quicker, much quicker. So I think that's where, I would say pay it forward, just invest that time to really have that collaborative approach with multiple teams, whoever needs to be engaged. So that way, whatever you are teaching the agent, whatever you are putting in front of it or in the mind of it, whatever it might be, it really reflects how you want that to go. And then I think with that being said is obviously there's no perfection, right? So once it starts, you also have to invest the time to go and kind of check the responses. Is it really reflecting what we want to reflect? And the beauty of it is the adjustments, if there are any needed, is super fast. So you adjust what you're telling the agent to reflect in the reviews, and it is super, super good. So I would just say pay it forward and go back and check and adjust.
I love that. So let's kind of set this because I know AI in general can be abstract to some people, especially those who haven't engaged with it on a day-to-day basis. Agents takes that abstraction layer and exponentially makes it more difficult, right? So for SOCi with Genius Reputation Agent, what we're doing is we're taking reviews that come in, they can come in from multiple sources across the web, and we're turning those responses, right? So Eva, beforehand, the team's doing those responses. Now you're training the reputation agent to manage those responses for you so that you're kind of setting back. A couple of questions on that based off of what you said. How did you identify the teams that were necessary? And then two, like within that identification, when it comes to automation, there's a lot of hesitancy and reservation. I think there's a lot of fear in a lot of ways, right? Like, is this going to take my job? And with agentic AI conversations outside of what we've had, like there is a lot of concern with it's going to take a job. That's certainly not how SOCi positions it. We position it as for reviews in this example, is that it's hard to do all those reviews. Or if you have someone who does them and they're out of the office for a week, who's doing them then? So tell me a little bit more if you don't mind me kind of digging into that a little bit. How did you identify those teams and how did you help manage that hesitation or reserve from some of those people?
So I think I will start with the hesitation. I think that you're correct. I think that every company has lots of hesitation around AI. I mean, there's no question about it. I think that what made the difference with SOCi reputation agent for us was that we involved, first of all, the people that were doing the reviews. They were in it from the beginning, right? Like helping us to teach the agent how, reflection of how they would like to see it. So that way they have that buy-in, if that makes sense. So I think that involving the team that is working the reviews currently, and then obviously, depending on the company size, but each company has some, the values and have ideas about how they want the brand to be represented on a social media, right? So reviews are no different. It's a social media on steroids because people are very much into reading reviews and seeing the scores for the companies and so far. So I think that we took the opportunity really to make sure that the values we reflect in our restaurants are the same values we are reflecting in our reviews.
I love that.
So I think that, and that's where the multi-team approach comes into place because it's not just the customer support. Right now, we are talking about brand, we are talking about marketing, and we are talking about customer support. So those are three teams. But as far as my team that specifically was doing the reviews manually, we engaged them from the scratch, like literally from the beginning. And yes, there was a hesitation. Am I going to lose my job? What is going to happen? And you know what? It quickly turned into hearing like, did you see what SOCi responded? Did you see what it said? So I couldn't do it better. So those are the things that gets the team excited. And that way we can focus. And I think they understand that they can focus now on the stuff that does require the human element, right? Where the AI is potentially not quite there, maybe never will be, who knows? Where we really want to white glove, where we really want to put our resources in. And so that would be how we went around it.
I love that. So you go through this training process, you explain to our agent, how you want responses to be managed, to your point, the values, the tone of voice that you want to use, all of these things. When the Genius Reputation agent first managed a response, what was the gut feeling from the team? I get that like, hey, AI can do this, but like, was there still that level of hesitancy? Did we nail it from the start? Like, was there fine tuning needed? Like, help me understand that part.
I think that the gut feeling was super excited, but also very curious. Like, is it going to be as good, as I can do it? I think that, lots of people had that in mind. I think that from the beginning, it was, I would say, very close on brand. Like from the scratch, I would say 80% on brand. And from there, we had some fine tuning. But you know what, James, it changed from like, it wasn't like, oh, I don't like what it says. It's just it was more about excitement about, what we can teach the agent to say this, or it was more excitement about how we can polish it, but literally 80% on brand, with how it was set up from the start.
I love that. And going back to the kind of analogy or comparison of bringing on a new resource, new team member, I feel like getting to that 80% takes time
Mhm.
by default. But I think like the same level of excitement, like that's why I try to keep equating it. I'm not trying to humanize technology by any means. It's
Mhm.
not my goal here, but I think understanding that that type of impact can be made that quickly, and to that point of like you can still train it. And how we think about agents is that for our reputation agent, review management's the first skill, but we're going to continue upskilling them just like we would any employees. But I love how you guys approach that and thought about it and that excitement level. But I think it's also good for anyone listening in now or in the future is that you don't necessarily nail this right out of the gate, right? You're not going to get 100%. It does take fine tuning. Our agent goes out and does a ton of research beforehand and understands, but there's still those idiosyncrasies that come in. And I
Mhm.
also equate it to even if you had, let's say a new CMO came in that says like, I want to redo the brand voice, et cetera. Like you have to go back and train employees. You have to train agents on that. But that's the benefit here is that you can continue training and shifting as your values change or messaging changes, whatever it may be.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Okay, so the team, they see the first review come out, 80% they're there, super super excited about it. You're still in there approving things though, right? Like you're not setting it and forgetting it yet, right? There's still
Correct.
that. So help me understand the comfort level with those handoffs of where you move from like we're still coming in and pushing a button and approving it versus like we feel comfortable and confident to let this auto publish without us needing to come in and look at the platform.
No, I actually remember that day because we sat down and, we get around, close to 5,000 reviews a week that we were handling. And so my question to the team was, how much value are we still adding to push the button? So they're like, well, they gave me the feedback. They said they feel comfortable about certain reviews, not, still hesitant on certain reviews. So we made a deal that if we are not adding any value, we went with from, I believe we started with 1 through 5 with no text first, right? And it's
That's a
not.
star rating.
Exactly, star rating. So if we have 1 to 5 star rating and it doesn't have any text, we felt comfortable to go ahead. I mean, the responses were really good by the agent. We felt good. So then that went off. We went back a week later and said, okay, now let's take a look at the 5 stars with text, but positive. Do we feel good about it, and do we make any adjustments? Are we still teaching the agent anything? They're like, no, not really. So I'm like, okay, well then if we don't teach it anymore for those reviews, let's go ahead and push it. So we pushed the 5 stars with text on positive. And then I believe 2 weeks later, we started to look at 4 stars and with text. And that's when you start to be a little bit nervous, right? Like it's 4 star, but it could be 5 star.
Yeah.
So what do we do with those? So we decided to go 4 stars with text if there's no negative in it whatsoever. And honestly, it's amazing. That's where we are currently. I think that we still have a little bit to go with looking in other reviews, but I think just a long story to the short answer is once you realize that you're not adding any value and all what your team does is just to push the approve button, might as well just let it go.
I love that. I think that that's probably the most discomfort that people feel because that's been part of their job. And it's hard to identify the fact that I can go do something more strategic. I don't need to do this. From a time saving standpoint, does the team feel like they're getting substantial time back to their day, their week, or is this still they're still approving and still trying to oversee a lot of this?
No, in all honesty, we just had a team meeting on Friday where one of the team member shared on Friday. It was kind of heartwarming, to be honest with you, because she said, last Friday, so that last week was the first time that I actually had a time to do some LinkedIn learning and to do some other stuff that was more development for the employee. Um, and she was the one that mostly handled the review. Obviously, we're kind of on a rotating schedule, but that was kind of really, really good to hear because it's not just that we can move those resources into like other like work stuff, but also for personal development. And it is substantial time saving.
I love that. Our head of branding and comms talks a lot about the benefit of agents being able to give people time back to goof around with their friend at work or go out and touch grass, like the things we don't get to do. But we haven't zeroed in on the fact that like there's a learning opportunity, there's a development opportunity. I love that. That's something like a lot of us don't think about immediately, but you're right. There's a laundry list of things I want to go do from a professional development standpoint that just like I don't necessarily have the time to. So I love the story. I think that's great, and it probably resonates with a lot of people who are listening in.
Okay.
Um, okay, so I have to ask just because this question comes up a lot, and it's one of those just about executive leadership. Like, what type of oversight do you have there? Like, what type of interest do they have? What are they looking for metric wise, just around how these reviews work? I mean, 5,000 reviews, I mean, that's a lot of reviews a week. Like, how does that bubble up? What are they looking for out of this?
No, I think that we just started actually providing kind of a and still polishing the way would we present to our executives and you know people that are focus on a brand. But really, besides the volume and the numbers, that's the normal, how many of stars we have on this and that. But I think where we really can hone in is the themes and sentiments. So we really take away what are the positive themes, what are we doing well, and then what are the opportunities that we have, right? But then also being able to quantify it. Because sometimes you when you read at the opportunities you realize that okay, yes, are they specific to location, are they specific to a region, because there could be, so that gives us a little bit more insights. There's just no way, and James, I'm sure you understand that we can go over 5,000 reviews manually and make sense of it in a good way, right?
Right.
We can have feelings about, oh, mostly we get positives. I think we are doing well. Our score is high, and there are some negative. But really, once you start putting those themes together and the sentiments, and you can narrow down to specific, like I said, locations or areas of improvement, that's where it starts making much more sense. So we started putting that in front of our, people in executive suite, and they love it. Obviously, we have still polishing to do, and wanted to make sure that the information we put in front of them is as accurate as possible, and maybe potentially even recommend some actionable ways to react to the opportunities.
Think it's important. I mean, sentiment analysis, to your point, is hard across that many locations, that many reviews. A lot of people don't realize that, a lot of people don't realize the impact that reviews have on search in today's environment, right? Like, search is very fragmented. When I'm going to look for a new breakfast spot, a coffee shop, et cetera, when I'm in a new town, I'm looking at Google, I'm looking at AI sometimes now. I'm looking for reviews. I'm looking on social. Like I'm all over the place, right? And I'm not even the youngest demographic that's really
Yeah.
all over the place. So I think there's an importance to reviews. And then I think on the other side, what a lot of people don't realize is that reviews that go unresponded to, and you guys know this better than I do, they have that negative sentiment based off a customer. If I'm looking at reviews and I see that like there are positive and negatives, but no one's responding, but I see a brand that is responding to reviews, I'm more likely to engage with that brand because there's visibility there. It builds inherent trust, and I don't even know who they are necessarily.
Yeah.
But you can also skew that. Like if you have a 2-star review and you respond, you can also sometimes get that to go up to a 3 or 4-star review by just giving them something. So I think the way that you guys are approaching this is really smart and pragmatic, but a lot of brands completely miss the boat on this.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. I think it's hard. I think that social, like the responding in scale, it's difficult. It can be difficult for brands, right? And I think that at least our beliefs is that every customer who took the time to give us a review, good, bad, or ugly, deserves something in a response. Where we have that's the opportunity, like you said, for your brand to make it better, make a difference, show up, even if it is negative review where people will say, well, you know what, uh, it wasn't nice, but they responded in the, whatever voice of brand you use, in a way that it might even change the perspective, right, and perceptions.
Oh, yeah, I think it's super important, and I think a lot of brands just don't do a good as job as you all do with that. But I love the importance that you see that every review should have a response. Um, I kind of talked through a couple things. I've been taking notes as we go. We talked about the 4 and 5-star reviews. I'm asking an honest question. Like the 1 and 2-star reviews, those can be hard. To your point, the bad and the ugly at times. Like is from a cultural perspective, I assume that's something you guys still want to have oversight on. That's a benefit of the reputation agent is that you can still have that. It doesn't auto respond to those things. Do you feel the same way, at least at this point, that that's something that you guys still want to make sure that your brand is controlling at a personal level?
I think for right now, yes. I I think that there might be a way that we can go ahead and change that down the road. Meaning, we still, many of those reviews are something that might be just something simple mistake that was made. Right? It's not a theme. Uh, in some cases, it could be something that we really need to internally escalate, right? It could be, HR, PR disaster happening that was revealed on a social media
Knock
in
on
a
wood, knock on
review.
all the wood, Eva.
So, but to answer your question, I think that we'll get there, James. That is where we really have to put our heads together and make sure that, we set it up and teach it a way that we don't, get ourselves in a situation where we don't want to be, I guess.
That's fair. Okay, I know we're getting shorter on time, and no one likes a webinar that goes up until the very end. So I just want to hit you with one last question is, you know, what what are you most proud of so far looking back, whether it's an outcome or just something that you didn't think was possible before we started this agent endeavor?
You know what? I probably say, and I was really thinking about that because there's so many things that I'm super proud of in regards to this partnership and the agent itself. But I think that what makes me really tickle is that we took the modern approach for customer engagement, and that approach was so well received within the company. And I think that is where it makes me super proud. And then I'm talking, um, team responsiveness to it, our leadership responsiveness to what's going on. Because every company, to your point at the beginning of the webinar, was everybody's a little nervous. Everybody wants to stay as close to their customers as they possibly can. And I think that this is where we got opportunity to kind of blend the technology with our brand. And I love it. Like I have IT team as well. So it's kind of like in my alley there, but I really, really enjoy the modern approach. I think that we don't want to miss, like, I don't want to miss the bus. AI is here and it's moving fast. And at some point, if we want to stay in touch and manage our reputation thoughtfully and strategically, we probably want to truly consider this as a part of the team. I think the webinar said something at the beginning that make it part of your team instead of looking at it as an AI. It's like a member. So that's kind of what I'm most proud of.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate your candor today. I think everyone does. Um, I think there's a lot of key themes. I took down a couple. I think, that smart setup at the beginning and being thoughtful about that, fast learning loops. And then you alluded this of just clear guardrails in place. I think these are important when we think about just any sort of agentic AI solutions. But I love that you're on the tech side too, because I think sometimes tech leaders are the most cautious about these types of solutions. So the way that you're thinking about this in such a forward way is very enlightening. I think it's very encouraging that there's a lot of interest there in allowing the opportunity to iterate together. So again, Eva, thank you for your time. Thanks for everyone for joining. If you're listening to this later, thanks for listening to this later. And Eva, I can't wait to catch up with you again soon.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.